With Fortnite Chapter 6 coming up, I asked you guys, what is the one thing Fortnite can do to make Chapter 6 a success? One thing above all. We're going to take a look at all of what everybody had to say today. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, welcome back to the reply room where I ask you guys to jump into the Discord server and give me an answer to a question that I ask you, and then we take all the replies, I give my reaction to those replies, and I ask you down below afterwards to comment your thoughts on everything that we talked about. This is what I had to ask everybody for today. What do you think is the biggest thing Epic can change or add to make Chapter 6 a success? One thing, because we can get into a lot of things, right guys? Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into the video for today. One thing sure is difficult considering Chapter 5 had quite a lot of blunders, but if I had to pick one thing, it would be bringing back hit scan. Bullet drop and projectile was just not at this chapter, and the game felt off since they went on a realism route rather than their iconic cartoony route. The guns were horrible to use, and the weapon mods weren't doing much of a favor towards this change. Hit scan has always been the way Fortnite is played out, and it should never be removed ever again. Like, just take a look at Reload. The guns feel so good and fulfilling to use because it's not projectile, rather hit scan. Now, I know there is a group of people who do enjoy the bullet drop, but I feel like the majority of the player base does want hit scan back. Actually, I was talking to Clark a little while ago, and he found it very interesting. I'm almost sure he mentioned it in a video too. Regardless, he mentioned that it would be fun to have hit or bullet drop just in zero build and then have hit scan for build mode. I think that'd be a good compromise, to be honest with you, but if it were up to me, I think hit scan should be in every single mode of Fortnite. I completely agree with what Yes says. I don't have anything to build upon that because I think it was very well presented in my opinion. Reverting back to the classic loot pool, it has been my #1 complaint since Chapter 4, but I've liked any of the replacements for the classic weapons more than the original, especially with shotguns. I've never liked them, sorry about that. I've enjoyed some of the new ideas like the MK, but things like the Havoc shotgun, the Hammer AR, and the Flapjack have all felt clunky and annoying, especially in creative mode or reload when you have the ability to directly compare them with the originals. The original weapons are just more satisfying. Even with the Chapter 5 redesigns are worse because they changed the visual design, the sound design, and they added bullet drop. They just feel worse. The classic loot pool is the most fun to use, which is why if I didn't have to level up on my battle pass, I'd play Reload exclusively like I did for the majority of Season 3. Now, the problem is when you refer to classic loot pool, I could be wrong for feeling this or assuming it's this way, but when you say classic loot pool, it makes me think of OG Fortnite. I could be wrong about that. If you're talking about just the weapons from OG Fortnite, then I strongly disagree. The reason that I find myself playing Reload, and just like you said, I've been playing Reload for the most I've ever been playing Fortnite. Like, I've only been playing Fortnite Reload, but I do love the rotations. Like, the Thunder Shotgun's great, the Mammoth Pistol's amazing. I love a lot of the weapons that Chapter 4 brought. Like, I think you mentioned the Hammer AR, that was Chapter 3. The Havoc Shotgun's one of my favorite shotguns ever used. So, with that, I disagree with. There's some things like the Flapjack rifle you mentioned, that does feel clunky, but we all like different items. That's a little bit of an issue when it goes to that. If it were to pick though, Chapter 5 or the classic loot pool, I'll take the classic loot pool 100% of the time. Besides the gimmicky items, but even then, like, we haven't even really had like any great ones besides maybe the pirate ship, and that was just because it was fun, you know. It wasn't even that like strong to use. Unfortunately, it's something that a lot of people would just disagree with no matter what, but when it comes to comparing Chapter 5 and classic loot pool, I'll take classic any day. Let's fix the mods. Here is my way to fix them. Starting with the mods themselves, they are incredibly boring. The scopes are not fun or unique, nor are any of the other mod types. So to fix that, we make unique and fun scopes to mix along with the more basic ones. The Twin Mag AR scope, the zooming in scope, etc. are very needed in my opinion along with the new ones. The next issue is how you get them. The bunker system is hard to get to, and just bad. How we should do modding access is making at least 2 mod benches per POI. We can keep bunkers for a different season, that being exotic mods, make your bullets explosive or ricochet, or make your weapon activate 0-point dash once you reload it, anything you want. This could be a good way to also rebrand augments. Bunkers will also cost keys to open instead of waiting till the middle of match to open. I've also toyed with the idea to have mods with rarities, depending on how hard they are to find or how much they cost. The higher rarity they are, so the red dot would be more common, and the Twin Mag scope would be rare. This also brings mythic mods into the mix. Let's do it. We throw in vaults and they change in each season. Zeus's lightning pulls on to nitro-inducing mags. Lastly, what will they cost? Well, let's reintroduce nuts and bolts. Gold should be well reserved for characters and vending machines. Nuts and bolts would also bring back crafting and upgrade stations, perhaps make modding and upgrading in the same station, making them cost nuts and bolts. I like that in particular, actually. Next, stop making all weapons have mods as you loot up. The only weapons that should have mod spawns are mythics. With this, we need to 1. Delete bullet drop forever, and 2. Make weapons nice to use without mods on them, and 3. Make weapon designs more unique so they don't all look exactly the same. This may be a bit of a hard topic, but I would like vehicle mods, all vehicles too, especially if planes were to ever return, to come back in one of 2 ways. One way is to add garages around the map that allow you to mod your weapon, like the fueling pads across the map right now. Your car goes onto them, a screen pops up letting you choose the mods you would like to put on your car, and you can use nuts and bolts to do so. Along with this, you can use gold to put your paint job and car bodies on your sports car or SUV. More vehicle customization could be added for motorcycles, boats, planes, etc., along with different stations for each type, landing pads for helicopters, docks for boats, helicarriers for planes, etc., etc. This would also mean we could finally get taxis and stuff back, maybe even police cars. Or we could have the second option, the more boring counterpart, keeping the car customization mechanic we have now and simply adding back the throwable vehicle mods. Oh, and also don't add back the turret grenade launcher back unless it fits the season. That's my idea for fixing mods, and I'm pretty confident on it. For anyone who took the time to read this, thank you. No, Charles, thank you for taking the time to write all that out. I really appreciate it. I wish I could add more to it, but I think that'd be a really nice fix to mods. You'd have to question, and the only issue I see with it is people might have the same issue that they had with crafting in Season 6, where they might end up spending too much time modding. As long as the weapons feel good and there's enough where modding isn't necessary, that's where the issue would come. Whether or not the loot pool is bad enough, that modding would be necessary. If the loot pool is good and modding is a complete option, then I think this is an incredible way to fix it. I like in particular the idea with the nuts and bolts and kind of making an upgrade station at the same time as well. I think that's a very, very interesting way to move forward with mods if they were to keep them. And we got Pojo over here too. Pojo, thank you for coming. Off the bat, the first thing that can come to my head was change the locker UI. Let's face it, the locker UI has been atrocious this whole chapter. They've made promises they can't keep and are trying to improve it by changing things about it that don't need changed or don't address the main issue at hand. Whilst it won't bring players back by any means, it'll significantly improve the quality of life experience as a player in Fortnite. They don't even have to make a new design. Just go back to the fan favorite one and it will all be forgiven. I'm completely there with you. I'm completely there with you, Pojo. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to Pojo. Link will be in the description down below. Usually I say pinned comment, but description down below. The Discord link's going to be in the pinned comment, guys. Thank you so much, Pojo. That's a good change. I'm all for the locker UI. That's me. That's my biggest hope besides Mythic Goldfish. For the locker to add a feature that allows us to add more categories, like one that does seasons and sets at the same time, because that might help. Yeah, you know what? Like, still searching for seasons and sets. To have it its own category, would that get too clunky? I don't know, because initially I was thinking you were talking about searching for them. I was like, okay, we can do that, but to have its own category, it could work. I'm not too sure about that one. Bring back regular LTM rotations, not just 1 or 2 a season. I'm so with that. That's something that I miss in Fortnite, and I'll remind you towards the end of the video to take a look at my message to Epic Games about bringing LTMs back to Fortnite. It's time that they bring them back. I don't want just one. We were supposed to, or according to leakers, we were supposed to get one, and I know we shouldn't be banking on what leakers say. At the time of recording this video, we still do not have an LTM aside from the Fortnitemares one. I'm talking about a Marvel one, but I just want LTMs in general, man. I miss them. Make the map more vibrant. My favorite Chapter 5 biome is the Doom biome because it's actually appealing to the eye. Yeah, I have been talking about this throughout the entire chapter. I think that they finally went too far with the graphics updates. It's too, and I hate to use the buzzwords, but it feels corporate. It feels just like any other Battle Royale. I think they went way too far with the realism, and I think they absolutely need to make this map more vibrant. I really hope that they change it moving forward with Chapter 6. Revert all UIs to the Chapter 2 version and make Discovery a separate tab from Play because it genuinely is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. They've had 0 reasons to change it. I don't understand. Like, man, I am not this guy. I say this all the time. I am not this guy to just go, revert this, but the locker needs reverting. The UI needs reverting. It was perfect. It was one of those things that was perfect. And when people accuse Epic Games of changing things for the sake of change, they do that with the UI. I don't get it, man. The biggest thing Epic needs to do when it comes to Chapter 6 is one thing more than anything, like bullet drop and locker UI fixes, even though I do want those issues addressed and fixed by next chapter, and that is communication between both Epic devs and the community. Yes, I'm fully aware how annoying it is and at times rude the Fortnite community can be. However, these people that act rude towards the devs are either small children that don't know any better or people that lack the patience or brain cells to understand how game development works, not the majority of the community. In my opinion, while Epic Games has communicated with the community better as of recently, I feel there have been definitely some things they haven't done a good job with in terms of communication during the start of Chapter 5, a prime example being when Epic said they had heard feedback about the locker UI and said they were rolling out fixes within the next few updates, only for it to become worse over the course of Chapter 5 with the removal of rarities, which not only felt like a punch to the gut in the community, but also felt very disingenuous. Also, it doesn't help when Epic becomes radio silent on these same issues after the community have been so widely shown their dislike for them, rarity removals for example. I feel like a lot of Chapter 5's issues could have at least been toned down more if Epic communicated with the community better in telling them when they could expect to see the changes they want to see come to the game, even if it's not for a while. It's better to rip the bandage off and, to be honest, rather than keeping your community waiting on false hopes. Finally, while this isn't a bash at Charlie specifically, I feel like he's done a good job with this new Chapter 5 story so far. I feel like if he communicated and teased things about his storyline plans and hints at things to come in the future, I think a lot more people become invested back into the storyline again, as I feel like one of the biggest reasons Donald was so loved was because he was openly having talks with the community about his plans for the story in the future, as well as listening to fan theories about his story. In my opinion, doing this would bring something I feel that has been missing in the Fortnite storyline for quite a while now, which is a sense of mystery. But then again, I could also be just there because there's a lot more leaks nowadays. I think leaks have the biggest problem with it. That's the biggest issue. I completely agree with what you said about Charlie, though. I would like to see him have more communication. I would like to see him interact with everybody. It's interesting what you said, though, about Epic Games and the community. I'm usually quick to jump on and just say Epic Games should just go, you know what, everybody, screw off, for lack of a better word. But you're right in saying that it is just dumb people. It's just dumb people online, the ones that harass devs, right? They're miserable people. They'll never be happy. Should the rest of the player base be punished for that reason? I still would like to see Epic stick it to these people, but you're right. You're right. I think I need to adjust my mindset on that a little bit. I think I just appreciate what these people do, and to see people like get doxxed, to see people just be made fun of consistently in general by people who are so entitled, so arrogant. It doesn't get to me, don't get me wrong, but I always would like to see those people just like kind of be told to shut up by Epic Games in that sense. But yeah, you are right in that, Sizzo. You are I think you're completely correct in saying what you said. Very, very good well thought out response. Thank you for it. One thing for me that would make Chapter 6 a success would be for diversity and difference and distinction between most of its POIs and its map on launch. POIs stand out for point of interest. Personally, with the base of the Chapter 5 map, I felt underwhelmed. I had little to no interest with its map and POIs. This is mainly due to one reason: buildings. I feel with the base of Chapter 5, there is no unique difference and distinction between most POIs, then this is a bigger building or this is at higher elevation than another one. I feel clumping buildings into another area doesn't make a Fortnite POI the most enjoyable for its players. I play Fortnite mainly for its gameplay. However, I do care about its map quality, and I feel Fortnite has lost distinction and difference between most of its POIs and map quality. When I think of the best unique diverse POIs, I think of Chapter 1 and its different environments. I was going to respond with that actually. For example, the map had a lake, a junkyard, a volcano, divot, iceberg, need I go on. I feel as chapters progressed, the POIs have lost uniqueness in its environments and geology, slowly turning for buildings for the sake of buildings to make a POI. In Chapter 5's base map, I felt little to no difference between one POI and another, making me not have interest with these POIs, majority not feeling like POIs to me. I don't want to come of a Debbie Downer in this statement. However, I feel Epic has lost the meaning of what a POI is. It isn't just clumping buildings under one area, making them looking aesthetically good. However, a POI making unique environments for different areas of interest, which difference in environmental surroundings, which Chapter 5 did not do, in which I believe to also be a con of the yearly chapters. In sum, I do enjoy playing the game, but I believe Chapter 6 needs to fall out of the belief that a POI is just clumping buildings together. A POI needs to have unique environments and aesthetic design in order to truly make a fun, enjoyable, appealing locations. This might be the best thing we've read so far. I was actually like in my head, like I was preparing a response for this, and I was going to say exactly what you had to say about the Chapter 1. This is why that I still to this day think that Chapter 1 had some of the best maps that we've ever seen. Chapter 5 has done a good job at making everything looking aesthetically pleasing, but you're right, the buildings are kind of just being clumped together, and I feel the exact same way as you, Sleet. I feel bad because there's some of these things that we're reading here, and I can't expand upon them, but it was just so perfectly said. I loved it. Thank you very much. Guys, we have many more Chapter 6 hopes and suggestions coming up, but really quick, I want to put a stop to you for a second. If you guys don't have a code that you are using in the item shop, please consider using code Clen. As you guys know, I just started a family. I'm doing my very best to make enough money through YouTube and the other jobs that I'm working at that I can keep my wife and baby home and they can live their life as happily as possible. The creator code has been helping so much, and I can't thank you guys enough for it. So if you are watching this video, battle passes are coming up with Chapter 2 OG and Chapter 6. Anything in the item shop. If you do not have a code that you were already using, please consider using my code Clen in the item shop. Thank you so much for considering and listening. Let's continue on with the video, guys. I want to see character and depth put back into the map. What do I mean? I want the game to feel like I'm playing Fortnite. What happened to tornadoes, clombos, the beef boss versus tomato head, weekly loading screens, or those mini stories that took place on the map that you had to be there to see? I mean, we had a random rubber duck spawn with 1 million, or that one landmark in Chapter 2 getting stuffed with chairs. I mean, they want to cater to younger audiences, but the game has felt this wannabe edgy COD clone this chapter. I know this is multiple things to be asking for, but in Chapters 4 to 5, I faintly remember even Chapter 3, and I really want Chapter 6 to bring a breath of life back into the game. I totally understand what you mean. There's a lot of little things on the map that could make it better. Funny you mentioned that because I just made a video, if you guys haven't watched it, banger, saying goodbye to every single POI and landmark in Fortnite. And when it was with Twisty there. And when Twisty and Rem and Pojo and I think that's who I was with. Apologies if I wasn't. When we visited the bowling alley on the map, I was like, Donald Mustard would have made this bowling alley playable. It's little things like this that I really miss from the map. So I understand completely what you mean, Doom. And I would like to see those little things come back into Fortnite. I miss the weather. I miss things like Clombo, the beef boss. Excuse me, sorry, the beef boss versus tomato head. I'm so with you on that. I miss that a lot about Fortnite. That's the old Fortnite charm that we all miss, right? One thing they need to improve is skill-based matchmaking. The reason why is if I get a 20 kill game right and they're in my skill level, the next game I get put against a bunch of sweats and I can't do anything about it. Unfortunately, I don't know how skill-based matchmaking can be fixed. I would imagine that Epic Games is doing the best they can working on it, but I don't know exactly what the solution to that would be, unfortunately. Don't nerf the mythics to the ground. I love the fun of the mythics, and they are mythics. They are supposed to be overpowered. Also, if the sweats complain, just remove it competitive. It's that easy. It literally is that easy. I miss when mythics felt like mythics. I always point back to Chapter 2 Seasons 2 and 3. When somebody had the Sky Assault Rifle, it was a scary feeling. You get the adrenaline rush. It made the game more interesting and more fun. You either hid from that person or you worked really hard because you wanted to get that overpowered weapon. It changed the strategy and the way that you play. I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. I miss when only one mythic was on the map. I don't like just receiving like mythic as if it's like a legendary plus 2 damage. I completely agree with this. I miss it so much. That was a core part of Fortnite in Chapter 2 is why people loved Chapter 2 so much. I know the drum gun we had issues, but for the most part, mythics were pretty well received, okay? I know the drum gun was a special case, okay? But I don't like the mythics in the state that they are right now. I do like the mythics when they are collab items, but even then, I feel like they could introduce a new rarity for it. But maybe that's an outdated Battle Royale system. But I completely agree with this. I miss mythics in their true glory. Augments. Augments were originally planned to come back in Chapter 5, but didn't because they had to rework them. I think this is because Epic wanted a more realistic game and less cartoony things, and Reality Augments was one of them. Chapter 4 Season 1 was a great example of good and balanced augments with a balanced loot pool. It did get worse over time because the augments got less useful, but they still added spice to the game. They could probably change it around so they don't give the annoying notification when it pops up. Otherwise, it would be an amazing addition to what would have otherwise be a lesser chapter. Besides, they could add story elements, challenges, maybe even the Wastelander challenges, which are basically anti-augments. That's an interesting idea. If comp players yap about how this augment is too OP or something like that, it would be easy to remove the augment from comp instead of just faulting the whole idea. For creative, maybe they could add an augment device with the select pre-made augments and in UEFN an augment maker. That, I don't know why actually hasn't been added. I love the idea for UEFN. I love the idea of anti-augments. I miss augments so much in general. I'm not gonna give you the whole lecture, guys, because I've talked about augments so many times on this channel, but I miss them so much. I thought they were a fantastic addition to the game. You could make them better. For example, like you mentioned over here, Thomas, you could just get rid of the pop-up. That was a huge problem that people always had, right? I miss them so much. Like, we've had a lot of really great things to read today. I really appreciate you guys, by the way. But speaking of appreciating people, speaking of all of these things that could be reworked for Chapter 6, we did speak about LTMs, and I would like you guys to check out that video, my message to Epic Games, talking about why we need LTMs back in Fortnite. I would love to have you guys over there. Take care, everybody.